In this video, we're going to start our journey to find the perfect YouTube studio camera, starting with the Nikon D3200. Here's the story. Released in 2012 as an entry-level DSLR camera, the Nikon D3200 can be picked up secondhand these days. I did a quick search on Facebook Marketplace and I found it going anywhere between 300 and 650 Australian dollars. This included the camera body and a lens. The Nikon D3200 has a 24 megapixel DX sensor, which has a 1.5 crop. It's made of plastic and not weather sealed, but if it's living in a studio, that shouldn't really matter. There's no tilting screen, it's fixed on the back, and no touchscreen as well. To be able to film yourself on this camera, you'd then need an external monitor. Having a Mini-HDMI output is a bit of a bummer to me because I only have full HDMI cables, so I picked up an adapter just to make this work. There's a single SD card slot, and there's a 20-minute recording limit. Today we're using the 18 to 105mm f3.5 to 5.6 lens, and there are 3 focus modes: single servo autofocus, full-time servo autofocus, and manual focus. We'll be recording in full-time servo autofocus with face detection. There are 2 video recording settings, PAL and Ntsc. In PAL, you can record up to 1080 25p plus 720 50p. In Ntsc, you can record up to 1080 30p and 720 60p. 1080 24p is available in both modes if that's important to you. On top of the camera, it'd be nice to have an ISO and white balance button. If you want to change these settings, you either have to dive into the menu or there is a separate function button on the front of the camera which you can program to be one of these functions. But on other cameras, I really appreciate having them always there and not needing to have to program them in. The camera has a native ISO from 100 to 6400 and an extended ISO of 12,800 when high 1 is selected. And when recording video in manual mode, ISO 200 is the lowest you can go. It comes with a built-in flash that I'll never use. And one quirk that I find with this camera is you can't record video unless you're in live view mode. And then once you're in live view mode, you can't change the aperture. So you have to get out of the live view mode and then change your aperture and then go back into live view mode and then you can record. It has a microphone jack for those who want to record internally, but I record externally to my sound device's MixPre 3 Mark II, so this isn't really a concern for me. Currently, we are recording with the Nikon 18 to 105 f3.5 to 5.6 lens. And as you can see, it's quite dark right now, even though I've got an aperture 120D light with the aperture lantern attached to it, set to 100%. And it also being on ISO 200, it's not enough light for this camera. I've got to have the f-stop set to f4 on this lens because we're zoomed in just a little bit, so we lose that 3.5 max aperture that this lens has. And we've also got autofocus going right now, so if I move a little bit, I can tell that the focus is shifting around a little bit. It's a little noisy as well. I don't think it's going to come up on the microphone, but visually, I'm sure it doesn't look that great because it'll probably pulse around and it'll be a bit distracting, which isn't ideal when you're creating video content for YouTube. Here's an example of what the onboard audio sounds like, and it probably doesn't sound that great compared to having a dedicated microphone plugged into an external recorder. That sounds a lot better. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to now jump it up to ISO 400 and we'll see what that looks like. And this is what ISO 400 looks like. So let me know what you think of the image quality. Is it bright enough? Does the image look good to you? Is there any flickering or noise that you don't like? Let me know in the comments. So you've probably heard that it's not necessarily the camera that makes all the difference, but it's the lens that makes all the difference. So what I'm going to do now is swap the current lens over to my Zeiss 35mm f2 and see what the image quality looks like with that. And now we're on the Carl Zeiss 35mm f2 at f4, and the camera is now set to ISO 200. So this is what it looks like. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is this an improvement or did you like the other lens better? So overall, is this the perfect camera for YouTube studios? No, it's not. It is an outdated camera. It only shoots 1080p and I like to have the flexibility to record 4K, so when I'm editing my videos it can all be 4K, and then when I upload to YouTube I can upload a 4K file which from what I hear, if you upload 4K videos, YouTube will push that out more and recommend that video more than a video that is uploaded in 1080p. So I'm not 100% sure if that is actually true. And even if that isn't true, it is good just to have that extra video quality there just in case. I do realize a lot of people are only watching videos on their smartphones or on a small screen, but to be able to have that 4K there for future proofing to a certain degree is a good thing to have. The camera also doesn't have peaking, which I find really handy when trying to get your shots, especially with a manual lens like the one that I've got on right now. But the camera does have a clean HDMI out. So if that's something that's important to you for live streaming, well, this camera has you covered. So with all that said, I guess my journey for the perfect YouTube studio camera continues. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel for more videos on content creation in the future.